I am on page 151. If you want to follow along, I'm under multiple representations of lines. I'm not going to follow their example to the letter. I'm going to do this my way, even though I'm telling you the same information that's in the textbook. So if the textbook makes sense to you, go with that. But if it doesn't, I can understand that. So let's look at it the Amanda way. We'll get to the same outcome. All right, the first thing I want you to do is to write down this sentence. Y is 3 more than twice X. And out from it, let's put the label word form. Now, most math tests that I've ever taken in my life have been story problem tests. Very rarely will you get a problem that you can just compute and get an answer. They're usually going to be in word form. And then you have to do the math and write an answer. So what we need to do is to put this word form into algebraic form. So you just spell the word algebra, add ic, and algebraic form. So here's how I would encourage you to do that. The first thing I want you to do is put a box around the word is. And I'm going to go a step further and actually color that box. That box with that word is the most important word on this page because it means equal. So I can already tell you that this thing we're about to write is an equation. If it didn't have an equal sign, it would be an expression. But if it has the word is, it's an equal sign and it's an equation. So we're already getting started. The next thing I want you to put a box around is the term 3 more. Now, when I say more in a math book, what symbol comes to mind? Most people are going to tell me it's an addition sign. Sometimes students will tell me multiplication. Either one can be correct. But in this case, it's plus 3. So 3 more means add 3. Then I want you to put a box around the word than. Now this is something that the textbook doesn't tell you. You may not know this, so if you don't, let's make a point here. Than means reverse. So let's just write that word above. It doesn't mean anything number-wise, but it means reverse, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. Then let's put twice x in a box. And I'll color that yet another color, maybe blue. What does twice mean? If you do something twice, what have you done? You've done it 2 times. And then let's go ahead and bring down this y. It is a term. It needs to be, you can't just ignore it. So let's bring that down. You don't want to ignore it because that's going to help you in just a minute. Okay. The iPad has a mind of its own. So here's y. It's just going to come down here. Y is a variable. So there's y is 3 plus 3, and then we have 2 times x. Okay, and we still have that word than to deal with. Then is telling me to take these two components and reverse them. Okay. So it's saying to, before I do that, let me remind you that in an algebra book, 2 times x looks like this. The variable and the x are side by side. If you have no idea what I'm talking about at this point, you need to stop this video and tell your instructor, I need help with this kind of problem before I move on. Okay, so the reversing is going to happen right here. We're going to reverse these two terms. And by reverse, I simply mean I'm going to put the 2x first and then the plus 3. I've just reversed. I haven't changed the value at all. There's the 2x. Here is the plus 3. I've just reversed the order. So let's add that, reverse order. And then I'm left with the y and the equal sign. Again, I have not changed anything in terms of value. I have simply converted that word expression into an algebraic expression. And I have an equation here. Okay. Again, if you have no idea what I'm talking about on this one, I want you to stop now. Tell your instructor, I need to go back and review this or learn this. Okay, so once you have an equation, form, forgot y equals 2x plus 3, you can build a table of values. So let's draw a box, maybe yay high. And I'm going to move mine down just a little bit. You don't have to do that. Let's put a vertical line in there, divide it into 2 columns, x and y. And let's use the equation to put some values in this box. So I have to pick my x values, and I'm going to pick the easiest ones I can think of. I'm going to pick a -1, a 0, and a 1. Now in the textbook they use a 2 also. Let me go ahead and do that for those of you who may have been using the textbook. Let's just add one more row, and let's add a 2 in the x column. So your table of values looks like this so far. We have to do some math to get the y. So to get the first one, I'm going to write my equation down. Y equals 2x plus 3. So I'm just bringing that equation down here. And I'm going to substitute a -1 for the x. So let me do a little color coding here. My x's I'm going to mark off in yellow. And then my y's I'll do in blue. Okay. So for this first math step, I am putting the x in there as -1. That's the first x. So let's do the math. We get y equals -2 plus 3. So y equals +1. And that is the first y value. Right there. It's going to go in this column. So all I've done, I've substituted this -1 into my formula, and I got a +1 out of the formula. Okay, let's go to the next part, where we are going to use the same formula yet again. y equals 2x plus 3. Y equals 2 times 0 this time. So we're substituting that second y value. The second x value. And we're going to get the y value. So we have 2 times 0 plus 3 is positive 3. So when x is 0, y turns out to be 3. And then I'm going to do it yet again. All right, so I'm going to say y equals 2x plus 3. And our next value is a positive 1. So 2 times positive 1 plus 3 is 2 plus 3. So this time y comes out to be 5. So when I put in a 1, I get out a 5. And then one more time, for those using the textbook, let's go ahead and make sure we cover this one. I have y equals 2x plus 3, and this time we're going to put in a positive 2 in the x pocket. So y is positive 7. I put a 2 in, I get a 7 out. This is sometimes called an input-output table. Let's go ahead and put that term up here as well. Input-output table. Okay, and you build one of those by doing the problem. Now remember where we got the equation. We got the equation from all of that mess up there. So you have to have a rule, an equation, to build your table of values. Okay, if you are confused at this point, I want you to stop the video, tell your instructor, I need some help on this particular step. If you're not confused, you feel pretty comfortable, let's go on to the next step, which is this thing. Remember this? That Doofus finally remembered to make a copy of, so I don't have to keep drawing it. All right, so now we are going to graph our equation. We're going to use the table of values that we just built to put points on a graph. So the first one is right here. It's negative 1, 1. So let me just write it in coordinate form. Negative 1, 1. So that means I start at the origin, I move back 1 and go up 1. So negative 1, 1 is right here. Back 1, up 1. Okay, the next point from the table of values is the y-intercept, 0, 3. So you move nothing here, no movement there. You just go up to 3, to this point. So 0, 3 is right here. It's on the y-axis. This first point is in quadrant 2. Okay, then we have a 1 and a 5. So we will go over 1, up 5, right there. Over 1, up 5. That is in quadrant 1. And then over 2, up 7. And I will tell you, this is why I choose little numbers to put in my table. because eventually I'm going to run out of room if I'm using the bigger numbers. So over 2 up 7 is right there. So I have taken those 4 points and I've plotted them on my coordinate plane. And then I'm just going to use a straight edge and connect the dots. Remember in kindergarten when they had us connecting dots? This is one reason. They were teaching us to graph in baby steps. My graph is not perfectly square, so my line is not going to be perfectly straight. It can continue to positive infinity, and it can continue to negative infinity. And to name this line, we would actually use our equation. Y equals 2x plus 3. You have just graphed a function. You started with words and you ended up with a picture. And that was the point of page 151. Okay. I will see you in the next video and we will look at page 152.